Now, the Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is all set to wrap up his three-day-long visit to Moscow today, which focuses on strengthening the India-Russia ties across strategic and economic fronts. Now, S. Jaishankar, in fact, met with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Moscow, and both leaders noted that the two countries are now preparing for the annual summit later this year, following the recent high-level meetings that are including to take place in Kazan and New Delhi. S. Jaishankar co-chaired the 26th session of the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Trade, Economic, Scientific, Technological and Cultural Cooperation, alongside the first Deputy Russian Prime Minister Denis Manturov, with economic cooperation topping the agenda. Now, the Indian minister addressed tariffs and non-tariff trade barriers, removing the bottlenecks in logistics and promoting connectivity as both countries are navigating some pretty stringent sanctions imposed by Washington. Now, Jaishankar also addressed the India-Russia Business Forum, where he called on Russian companies to intensify engagement with Indian businesses. He highlighted India's rapid economic growth and initiatives like Make in India as major opportunities for foreign investors, while trade between the two nations is growing steadily, with an ambitious goal to reach $100 billion by the year 2030. And efforts continue to reduce trade barriers and to address imbalances. In addition to economic and strategic talks, cultural ties are also being celebrated, with plans for India to purchase the Buddha relics to Russia's Buddhist Republic of Kalmykia this September. Following the recent visit of India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval to Moscow, this high-level engagement underlines the commitment of both nations to the deepening cooperation. Now, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has pushed back pretty strongly against criticism of India's energy trade, with Russia pointing to what he's described as double standards in global discourse. Now, Jaishankar highlighted that India is in fact far from the largest purchaser of Russian oil, pointing instead to China and the European Union as the leading importers of Russian energy. He's also emphasized that India's oil imports from the United States had significantly increased in recent years. This in line with what he says has been Washington's long-standing request for India to help stabilize the global energy markets.
We are not the biggest purchasers of Russian oil, that is China. We are not the biggest purchasers of Russian LNG. I'm not sure, but I think that is the European Union. We are not the country which has the biggest trade surge with Russia after 2022. I think there are some countries to the south. We are a country where actually the Americans said for the last few years that we should do everything to stabilize the world energy markets, including buying oil from Russia. Incidentally, we also buy oil from America, and that amount has been increasing. So, quite honestly, we are very perplexed at the logic of the argument that you had referred to.
Now, Trump slapped an additional second 25% tariff on India for its Russian oil purchases, bringing the total duties to about 50%. And it is amongst the highest that the United States has imposed on any nation. Even as tensions continue to rise, the oil prices have dropped this month. Now, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Nations, or OPEC's move to ease production cuts, coupled with signs of an economic slowdown in the United States, has raised fears of oversupply and weakened energy demand. And WION's assistant editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibil, has been tracking the story very closely for us and has sent us this report. Listen in.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is in Russia and held talks with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, where focus was on firming up ties in various sectors, whether it's energy, trade, and of course discussions on situations in Ukraine and of course in West Asia as well. Now essentially this visit also focused on preparation for the upcoming visit of the Russian President Vladimir Putin to India for the annual India-Russia summit that will take place by the end of this year. But a clear message by the Indian side to the American side from Moscow, because the Indian External Affairs Minister also pointed out that it was from the American side keenness that India should buy from Russia, the energy, to make sure that the global oil market, the energy market, is stabilized. But all in all, conversations also happened with the first Deputy Prime Minister, Denis Montorov, where India expresses concerns over widening trade deficit with Russia, even as India increases and its energy imports from the country. With video journalist Neeraj Patel, Siddhant Sibbal for WION in New Delhi.